do, and her name is Minerva. Ouch. She's the flower of the flower. Ouch.
Welcome to the show.
Don't start! We haven't left yet!
Look at that. I start on time and nobody's here. So that's it. No more on time, Aaron. It's going to be nothing but late for me. Welcome, everybody that's here. People are starting to roll in late. Not me. You know, I shaved my head today before I took a shower, trimmed up the beard a little bit. And I was looking in the mirror and I said, you know, if I had 20 pounds of solid muscle added to my frame, I could be a Viking. Like one of those Viking, like old Viking kings. I would have a scar right here. I think so. I think I could be. Welcome. It's Comics, Cryptids, and Cannonballs. Oh, just got some iced tea. My daughter comes in tonight at 11 o'clock at the airport, so I'll be up late like an old Viking king picking her up from the airport. So I had to get a little raspberry iced tea. All right. Well, I don't really have much to say today. I got up early this morning. I woke up about 6:30 and I was like, what am I doing up at 6:30? I'm going to go back to bed. But I really felt pretty good. So I kind of laid there for like an hour and then thinking, you know, I'm not going back to bed. So I got up and I worked, made breakfast, went to church, came back, worked some more, work meaning drew pictures, mowed the lawns, pulled some weeds, took a shower, trimmed up the beard, pretended I was a Viking, and here I am right now. So that's pretty much it. So I had all these like deep, meaningful things I was going to say today, and they're just right out the old window. So let's see who's here. Creative Faye looks like she's first in. Repairman Jack right behind her. Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick is always here. Pantheon joining us. Corey Landis says, Aaron, you're going to be great as usual. That's the kind of positive energy I like to hear. Balton Saijing is here. Happy Sunday, everyone. Michelle Bowers, look out. She's got a sword. Marcus Killigrew says, do not mention vanilla or cats. We don't want Aaron to lose any backers. Well, here's the thing. Graybeards has turned in this, of course, is Comics, Cryptids, and Cannonballs, but it's really Graybeard's studio, my other show, has really turned into the confrontational, vitriol, thing that this used to be. This is like the reasonable hour. And Graybeards has become this sort of battle zone where I'm constantly being attacked and I have to defend my belief system, which is very anti-vanilla. I will say this about vanilla now that Marcus brought it up. I bought, there was some Ben & Jerry's was on sale at Safeway. They had like a they always have like $5 Fridays, right? So you could get two like little, what are they, little pints? What are they called? The little, the little things of ice cream. Two for $5. And Ben and Jerry's is almost $7 for one of those things. That's a deal. So I got one. One of them was basically chocolate, peanut butter chocolate was basically the flavor. That's not exactly what it was called, but that's what it was. So I'm eating this thing, and there's like a ribbon of vanilla ice cream working its way through the chocolate peanut butter combination. And I'm like, what? What is going on? Why is that even necessary? So anyway, so I've got, so I'm just, I'm all ticked off about vanilla again. But anyway, enough about that for the time being. We'll see if it comes back up. Avenger 2 is here. Is the hairy guy at the beginning how Aaron really looks? The human Aaron is AI. That's actually not true. Off to a good start, Avenger. Aberdeen 7 says nobody's here and accounted for, which is usually the way it goes. There's Jerry Rasco is here. Where are we at here? My dog. Of course, he's barking. What is Pantheon talking about here? Hey, I am not a nobody. I've always wanted to be somebody, but then again, since I don't have a channel, I guess I am a nobody. I would like to point out that having a channel still does not keep you from being a nobody. So that's really not the measurement of that, I don't think. Let's see here. Leg Kick says, if you had 20 pounds of muscle, you'd be Graham Nolan. More or less, except about 4 inches taller, or more. But enough about that. Let's see. There's Grey Wolf Graphics, Eric and Boyd Creations. He says, I once spilled a spoonful of vanilla ice cream on my cat. Well, I can find nothing wrong with that statement because it's not a waste of food, and it's certainly not a waste of a pet. So there you go. Let's see. Rogue Obi-Wan is here. How about that? What else we got? There's Matthew Mumont. Matthew is very supportive. He says, what did I miss Wednesday? I had no power for 5 days and finally restored. Well, I think you need to go back and watch reruns because if you guys are not watching Graveyards, I know like 95% of you are, but if you're not watching Graveyards, you're missing a quality free show on YouTube. It's very high quality, very entertaining, very funny show. And there's art being made on it too. So it's the ultimate fan experience. Probably not, but did you guys see that someone's at Fan Expo in Toronto or someplace in Canada? Kurt Russell's there. $400 for a signature for Kurt. There's very few guys that I would pay $400 for a signature. Okay, there's nobody that I would pay $400 for a signature. But if I had a Big Trouble in Little China poster, which I do, and I took it in there, I think Ethan actually posted this, and I thought it was brilliant. But Ethan, he's a savvy collector, especially of autographs and stuff. But you go in there with a poster that's valuable, like the Thing poster, or pardon me, the Thing poster, Big Trouble in Little China, it's a nice poster, and get Kurt to sign that. Kurt, like he's my buddy, Kurt Russell to sign that, and suddenly that poster might be worth $200-300 or more, maybe more. And so then you kind of get your $400 back. And I kind of like that strategy. So if I was there, that's probably what I would do. I would drop the 4 bills and get Kurt Russell to sign my Big Trouble in Little China poster. So anyway, yeah, I know Ben and Jerry's is very, very left-wing hippie ice cream, but you know what? They may preach socialism, but they practice capitalism, and I'm engaged in commerce, and I will If it's a good flavor, gosh darn it, I'll buy it. Especially if it's on sale. Hillary's saying no. He goes, he's not going to mention vanilla. The thing with Hillary, though, Hillary has a broccoli situation. Let's just put it that way. It's been going on for years, and I'm not sure that it's healthy. Now, I like broccoli. I turned on to broccoli and vegetables as a kid in high school because I was a basketball player. Now, I know Hillary dabbles in volleyball. I don't know if he plays basketball or not, but you know, my mom was always eat your vegetables, and so I said, you know what, I'm going to start choking this stuff down, and I became kind of a broccoli and cauliflower fan. Now, the interesting thing is, broccoli, I believe, has more iron in it than spinach. So why wasn't Popeye eating broccoli? That's a question that maybe Hillary Barta can answer for me. Okay, let's see. GJ Martinez is here. Stealth X5 joining us. Stealth also says hello. Thank you, Stealth. I appreciate that. GJ Martinez, a big supporter of the show, but also of me personally as an artist. And he says, hello, Aaron LaPresti. Your prints came in a couple of days ago and they look awesome in person. Thank you. Thank you for buying them. I appreciate that very much. Sequential Treasure says, I'm proof having a YouTube channel doesn't mean you aren't a nobody. There you go. Living proof, James from Sequential Treasures. Ronan is here. Yeah, it is. It's a quality free show because there's, you know, anybody can offer up a free show, but when you offer up a free show and it's quality, now we're talking. Okay, let's see here. Steel Rage is here. GJ Martin. Yeah, GJ wants to know where I got this shirt. Somebody sent me. Gosh darn it! Why can't I remember who sends me this stuff? I know him. I can't think of his code name right now. But yeah, I got sent. You know, I get sent stuff. I try to wear it, and if it's even remotely edible, I'll eat it if you send it to me. Unless it's so gross, then. But you know. Eric M. Boyd says, Kurt Russell does not have time for the likes of urine. This is true, but if I paid him $400, he would make the time, I feel. Hillary Barta coming and saying, broccoli is the worst ice cream flavor. I don't even think Ben & Jerry's has a broccoli flavor. So I'm going to stay away from that. But I do. I'm a connoisseur of broccoli. You know what I discovered a little late in life is that, you know, I've been a vegetable boiler, and I'm pretty sure that Hillary is too, that he would sit on his stove there. Now, he won't sit on his stove, but he'll sit his vegetables on the stove and he'll boil broccoli. I would talk to him on the phone back in the day, and I could smell the broccoli over the phone line. But I'm now taking vegetables and putting them on a baking sheet, spraying them with olive oil or avocado oil, season the crap out of them, you know. And sometimes even chop up garlic, throw it in there, cover it with Parmesan cheese, cook it for 20 minutes at 425. And I am telling you, that is the way to eat your vegetables. There you go. Okay. Eric Boyd says, alas, I did some research. Spinach has more iron than broccoli. Okay. Where did I read that then? I guess misinformed, but I'm always misinformed, and that's one thing you can count on. Free quality show. A quality free show is something else. Wait a minute. Yeah, what did I actually might be the latter. I might be the quality free show. So, okay. All right. Enough of this foolishness. I was going to do snacks today. In fact, I'm going to do, this is going to be kind of, is there such a thing as like diet snacking?
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
I'm not having any snacks today, but there are some downstairs. Now, I think I have on this show often sung the praises of the Ritz cracker dipped in fudge. Okay. Now, this is a holiday thing that Ritz Crackers puts out, seasonal, of course, during the holidays, duh. But I was walking through the store the other day, and they had the bag of like mini Ritzes drizzled with fudge, and then some drizzled with caramel. Well, they were on sale, so I did pick some up, and they're just little tiny things, but they're good. And I had some before I came up. And I was like, should I have some on air? Then I thought, no, you know what? You've already had enough. Plus, you have this. I do have. This is kind of a snack. This raspberry iced tea from the Human Bean. This is a non-paid advertisement, by the way. So anyway, I'm talking about a snack, and then sort of partaking in a raspberry iced tea snack. So that's kind of a snack, but it's been a couple years since I've seen the full-size Ritz dipped in fudge, but I'm hoping they bring it back this year because I don't know about you, but it just feels healthy to me. And so anyway, Laser Beak says never had a bad steak that was cooked on a stove in a hot tent during a snowstorm. I'd say the odds are probably pretty good you've never had a bad one. I've never had one, period. But it does sound interesting. Then maybe that's something I would look into, provided I had a hot tent and a snowstorm, which seems both to be unlikely to happen. We get snow around here about once every 6 years, and I'm not even sure what a hot tent is. So I assume it's a tent that's like warm inside. I don't know. Okay. So here we go. I used to drink Snapple all the time, and everybody kept telling me how bad it was for me. But man, it was because there's a lot of sugar in it, I guess. This is like kind of sweet, but not like too sweet. You know, so you don't feel like I'm just sugar bombing here. It's sweet, but just kind of sweet. And so it makes me, again, feel much better about my health and myself in general. So I thought Snapple was supposed to be full of like good, nothing but good stuff, but I don't know that it really is. So there you go. Okay, so here's an interesting tidbit. Speaking of Kurt Russell, okay, now I've said on the show before that I know who owns the original artwork to that movie poster, Big Trouble in Little China, and bought it in the 90s. Sold it last year. I just saw this on Heritage. $300,000 it sold for on Heritage. So this person that I know no longer owns this, but I think he paid off a lot of bills. That's all I'm saying. So if people tell you that original artwork isn't a good investment, they're lying. I mean, it may not be a good investment now because everything's so high, but if you bought in the 90s, you're probably reaping great benefits right now. Option Trader says, I come in peace. And I say, yeah, but you'll go in pieces. I remember that movie. Oh boy. Well, yeah, we'll see. Okay. Speaking of stuff that's expensive, let's get this show started. I've got I got a wide variety of stuff. I got a lot of art to show, but I've got a stack of art sitting right over there. I have been, as you can see, Aaron is a workaholic. That is a true statement. I got a pinup done for somebody. Well, I started it last weekend, but I inked it on Monday of this past week. And then I inked an entire page of Primal Zone from Barbaric Adventures, which we'll get to that in a little bit. And then I penciled and inked another page of Barbaric Adventures this week. And I did like multiple layouts for, because I get ideas sometimes. I get like on a roll, and it's like, oh, that'll be cool. And so I have to like get down at least a rough so that I don't forget it. and then it goes in the drawer, and hopefully I get to it and fix it. So, or finish it. So I got a stack of stuff, but I'm going to save most of it for Graybeards. We've got something else to look at later today. But if you don't watch Graybeards, tune in Wednesday, because during show and tell, I'm going to blow your mind. Maybe not, but I'm going to show you a lot of stuff. I'm sorry, what did I come over here for? I don't even remember. What are we doing? Oh, yeah, okay. We're going to do that. Well, we've dipped into the Silver Age, and I think we're going to stay there. Silver Age is expensive, but probably not as expensive as a lot of Golden Age. So even though maybe we can't afford these expensive comics, they feel more like we can afford them than Golden Age books. And we're going to start with right here. Last week we looked at Fantastic Four #1, if you recall. This week we'll be looking at something that's, well, quite frankly, it's more expensive than that. It is Amazing Fantasy #15, the first appearance of the Amazing Spider-Man in a 9.2, if you can believe it. Now, this sold 3.5 years ago. And I believe, as far as I could find, this is the last sale of a 9.2. So this is, until another one sells and it either goes up or down, this is, your value on this book is $800,000. Now, I do believe this did go over 1 million earlier, like in maybe like in 2021 or 20. I may be wrong. It may have been a 9.4 or something. But so $800,000 for the first appearance of Spider-Man. Who would have thunk it? Of course, a phenomenal. Is this the most famous drawing of Spider-Man ever? It's up there. Of course, it was homaged in the latest Spider-Man movie, along with other covers. This, of course, by the King, Jack Kirby, which I find very interesting. Let's get in here and look at this. I wonder what this felt like when it came out. Much to everyone's chagrin, I was not around when this came out. I was not born until 1964. This is 2 years. 2 years before I came onto the scene. Look at the corners here. Well, we got some creasing here and here. Got a nick right there. Got a nick right there. A little blunting. It's a pretty sharp looking copy though. So anyway, 9.2, off-white pages. First and last appearance of Uncle Ben, if you know what I'm saying. I wonder what this was like to walk into the newsstand and go, whoa, what is this? Would I have been one of the kids who went, oh, I got to check this out, or I would have gone, I want my Batman comic. Who cares about this stupid new character? $810,000. Let's see what our friends over at Go Collector are saying about this. Woo! Okay, so there's 4. That's crazy. There's 4 9.6s of this book. 4 copies in a 9.6. $3.6 million, folks. So if you dropped 12 cents back in the day, wow, and just sat on it for 70 years, okay, 60 years, you'd be doing all right now. Now, this is interesting because the 9.4 sold in 2020 for $795, but the 9.2 sold for $810 in 2023. Now, a 9.0 sold in the last year for $550. That makes me feel a little bit like this 9.2 might if it's sold now, might go for less than 800. How many are there? There's 7 9.4s. Wow. So it'd be easier to get a 9.4 than a 9.2 graded. How about that? That's weird. So this 550, when it says fair market value like that and it's in green, that means it's sold within the last year. So a 9.0 sells for 550, then I'd be willing to bet that this 9.2 might be in that $700,000 range, maybe 750. So I'm going to say it's probably dropped off a bit. That's still fairly pricey. If we go all the way down here, let's see, how crappy of condition do we have to find a book that we can afford? Oh, wait, one doesn't exist. A 0.5 is still almost 10 grand. A 1.0, 14 grand. Man, this is why I sold my Spider-Man collection. I had every issue of Spider-Man except 1 and 2. And I knew I would never, or pardon me, 1 and Amazing Fantasy 15 are the only 2 issues of Spider-Man I did not own. And I was like, I'm never going to complete this. I will never own these books. And I had a chance in the early 90s to get a Amazing Spider-Man #1 in fine condition from Metropolis Comics for $2,500. Shelley was there. We were young, just married, I think. I don't think we had Josh yet. But I could have done it. I kind of wish I had now, but I didn't do it. And because it was a lot of money to spend, I really wouldn't have been the responsible thing to do at the moment. It would have been the responsible thing to do for looking, 35 years into the future, but at the moment really wasn't. So I didn't do it. And then of course it just kept going up and up in price and I could never get it. So anyway, I eventually, I don't know, 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, 7 years ago, I sold my Spider-Man collection and made, decent profit because majority of the issues I bought on the newsstand or I bought, when they weren't, in the early 90s where they weren't that expensive. But now my Spideys are gone. Kind of sad, but that's just the way of life. All right. And also kind of wanted to prove to myself I could part with that stuff, that it wasn't so important to me that I couldn't let it go. So anyway, so that Walton Saijin. See, I used to dream about this when I was a kid. Still hoping to come across old comics at a garage sale someday where they don't know what they're worth. Well, let me tell you something. The chances of that happening these days are slim to none. But, I think 10 years ago, I've told this story before, but it's such an incredible story that this guy was, but it was on the East Coast. You're not going to find Golden Age at an estate sale or garage sale on the West Coast. You're only going to find them in the East Coast. I mean, find them and people not know what they're worth. You can find collections on the West Coast, but they're because people collected them and they know what they're worth. So this guy in New Jersey is at a yard sale and there's a stack of Life magazines and he's flipping through them, and tucked inside one of the Life magazines is like it was either All Winners or All Select, one of those 2 timely magazines in really nice shape, like, like a 7.0 or something like that. And so he took it, he bought the whole stack of Life magazines. I'm sure he had, didn't tell him that was in there. And then for, $10 or whatever, took it home, sold the Captain America comic. It might've been Captain America, but it was one of those timelies. Sold it for like 20 grand or something. So now if I had done that, I'd have kept it, but that's never happened to me. Like I know a guy that found a like Batman, like #8, stuffed into the wall of his house. Okay. Now the corner had been eaten away by a rat. So it was like, the corner, but it was still like Batman #5 or something, detective, something like that, really low number. And so he still got thousands of dollars for it. But yeah, they used to stuff back in the old days, they would take newspaper and stuff and put it in the wall as insulation. And that's what happened with this Batman comic. So crazy stuff. Crazy. Laserbeak, are you talking about Spider-Man #1 or Amazing Fantasy 15 for $250? Oh, I'm sure. $250 in 1983 was a lot of money. But it's probably worth 20 times that now or more. So that's why I brought up the whole Big Trouble in Little China original art. You know, you drop, I think this person that I know that purchases, I think paid 20 grand for it at a, there was a showing here in Portland of Drew Struzan had it like a art gallery showing, and they were selling originals, and he bought that and sold for 300. Woo! So good investment there. Look at that. Laserbeak has an Amazing 15. And we know even if it's in crap condition, it's still worth at least 10 grand. And it's probably not in that bad a condition. So, okay. Here's the thing, though. You tell your wife how much it's now worth, and then she's really going to want you to sell it. And so you got to keep it on the down low. Yeah. All righty. That's our expensive comic of the week. And it certainly is that. All right, let's do a little paid advertisement, but with some artwork. Taco Bell still has not agreed to back this show. I wonder if Broccoli Growers of America, is that a thing? I wonder if they would back the show. And the Human Being, who I'm giving advertisement for, because my daughter and her best friend that is staying with us this summer both work there. And so I get, I'm getting drinks from them, from the Human Being. So I'm promoting the Human Being and for free. I shouldn't do that. Only paid advertisements on this show. Marcus says, my wife wanted me to sell my collection, and I did. Well, if your wife strenuously wants you to, you kind of, for the sanctity of the home, sometimes you got to make those things. Now, thankfully, Shelly has never turned the screws on me, but we've never been bad off enough that I've had to, but I would, like maybe next year. But yeah, so, but I did sell my Spider-Man collection, and I did take that money. I can't remember if I took the money and I put it towards, we had a kitchen remodel, or I paid off my truck. I can't remember. It was one of those two things. But anyway, so it went to a good cause. Let's see. Having a delicious caramel macchiato frap from 7 Brew. I'm not much of a coffee drinker, to be honest with you. And DF says, I would never let a woman tell me what to do, which is exactly why he's not married. I don't know if he is or not. Sometimes you just got to let go of things. And it's, with my collection, it's like I keep buying stuff. Now, I haven't been buying that regularly, but like I bought the romance comic. I showed you guys our love story number 5 with the Steranko story inside. It was the most recent purchase a couple months ago. And it's like you look at it and go, oh, this is so cool. You put it in the box. And you're kind of like, at some point, but I get so attached to that stuff because it's such a big part of my childhood. Obviously, all of our childhood, or we probably wouldn't be sitting here watching this free quality show on YouTube. All right. So speaking of books, how about Barbaric Adventures? Now look at this. We are really just a couple backers away from 47,000. This book, I am so excited about this book. I can't even tell you. Well, I can, and I'm going to. Let's take a look at this. This is magazine size, 8.5 by 11, but it's going to be square bound. It's not going to be stapled because the paper quality is higher than newsprint, obviously, and I don't want the spine bowing. I wanted this to be as close to like a Savage Tales type magazine experience as I could get, but we're going square bound, so it's going to be really nice. It's going to be nice, like Kit Carter nice, and there are 4 painted covers because we want to stay in the tradition of Savage Tales magazine, or Savage sort of Conan, if you will. And so I painted this one. David Williams painted this one. Dan Lawless digitally painted this one. And then, of course, the great Joe Jusko really painted this one. So there are your 4 cover options, and each one represents a story in the book. 64 pages. It is black and white. And you can say, come on, Aaron, full color or nothing. That's what somebody might say in this chat. And we all know who. But I'm telling you, there's artistic merit in black and white with ink wash. And let me show you some of that artistic merit right here. Here's some of the pages that I will be presenting in my story. Frazetta inspired for sure. Not really sure that I got there. In fact, I'm positive I didn't get there, but it is inspired. And you can tell the work and there's just something about black and white to me that says, you know what? I don't have colors coming in to save me. I got to go in here and I really got to make this sing. And so you put that extra effort into the artwork to make it work on this level. And so here's 4 pages from my story, Primal Zone, which is more of an Edgar Rice Burroughs type thing than a Robert E. Howard type thing. Dinosaurs, cavemen, a little bit of technology, but not much. And just good old-fashioned sci-fi, fantasy, adventure fun. And this is as much an art book as it is a storybook, because all of us working on it are just bleeding almost literally on the pages. Not quite like the Kiss Super Special where they, cut their finger and put blood in the ink. We're not going that far, but anyway, here's some of David Williams' stuff. Now you see David is this is almost like painted, in grayscale or gray tone. He's really going to town on this. And these pages are giant. I don't know what he was thinking, but he took 2 11 by 17s and stacked them on their side to make one big humongo page. And he's regretting that. But boy, this stuff looks fantastic. His stories of a young knight who, or a young want-to-be knight in his journey to become a knight, fighting hordes of demons. And I mean, it's the kind of stuff that adventure was the foundation of adventure stories, the kind of stuff that we just loved as kids, and you can also still love it as an adult because we like to think of ourselves as more mature storytellers now. But anyway, and here's Dan Lawless's a couple pages from his. This stuff looks great. He's on Mars with the high-tech society has fallen into disarray and decay, and there's rebellion and backstabbing and political intrigue and barbarism and laser guns. And I mean, come on, man. Now, this cover right here that I had Joe do for us at great expense, by the way. So get in there and order that. There's a short preview story of this character called Freya, the Ice Princess, and Yeti Slayer. So you'll get just a preview of her, but a nice little preview story in there. So you have these 3 main stories and then a preview story, plus my original Primal Zone story from 1997 that's never been published. So you can kind of compare what my original thought was on Primal Zone and how it's grown and evolved. And I'll have a little commentary in there. Quite nice. I think you'll really like it. There's a bunch of good stuff in here that you can get, extra covers, there's a sketchbook. This will be really cool. This is 8.5 by 11. So it matches the Kit Carter sketchbook, those of you who got that. There's a print here of our of Freya, the Ice Princess. you got to wonder how she can dress like that in the Arctic and not get cold. But I guess if you grow up in that environment, you know, what are you going to do? Shot glasses. There's some original art in here that you can buy if you're into that. Here's, if you keep scrolling vertically, look at this. 4-pack plus. All 4 covers plus the sketchbook, which the sketchbook's signed by me because it's full of my artwork. And you can get that for $15 off if you buy all 4. That's a good buy. There's the shot glass logo that'll be on laser etched on the shot glass because we've been doing shot glasses through every campaign. This will be the 5th one. You can get each cover, you know, you just pick the cover you like the best and go with that if you want. You can combine. You can get the my cover with the sketchbook, my cover with the sketchbook and the print, and save some money there. You can go big barbaric box. How fun is that to say? You get all 4 covers. You get the sketchbook. You get the shot glass. You get the print, and there's a full color print portfolio signed and numbered by me in an illustrated envelope that will also is only available in the big barbaric box, along with the 5th cover. It'll be a painted cover. Many of you have seen it behind me for weeks now, but I'm trying to get the interiors finished before I do this painting. I want the interiors done, and then I will do the painting while we're doing production on the interior pages, and then it'll all come together like just one beautiful thing. So anyway, original art, most of it's gone, but there are some pieces left. You can do add-ons of Wraith of God, Saved from the Trash, Kit Carter, Garbage Man, Power Cubed, Kit Carter Sketchbook. All this stuff is also available on my website, except for the new stuff, for Primal Zone stuff. But the other stuff, you can either order it here or you can order it on my website if you can't wait. So get in there and back this, man. I posted something on, let's see if I can dig it up here. It should be, there it is. I'm amazed I found it this quickly. I posted on Twitter a piece of artwork, a frame, if you will, from a recent page I did. Basically saying this is quintessentially a panel that, now it's not ink washed yet. This is just the penciled and inked version. I have not ink washed it yet, obviously. But I basically said this panel represents what I've been going for artistically for the last 5 years, starting with Wraith of God. And what is it? What did I mean by that? This panel, along with what I'm doing with this comic, is I'm doing layouts, pencil layouts, but I'm not doing like super tight pencil drawings. I mean, the drawing is there, the structure is there. I'm not that bold yet, but like all the detail and stuff, the line work and things, I'm going in with a pen and I'm just going for it. And I'm trying to get this sort of energy in the line that sometimes when you go in and really either with a brush or a pen and you're very specific and you're very clean, and it sometimes will just ink the life out of the drawing. And I want these things to have energy. At some point in your career, I've been doing this for 30 plus years, and it's like, do I just continue to do the same thing I've been doing my entire life until I die? Or am I going to actually take some chances and try to evolve a little bit and try to explore something else? And that's what I'm doing here. And I hate to sound like Dan Lawless, but I'm quite happy with myself. You can see how rough these holding lines are up here. Like, and all of these, chunky lines and things that I would get from like Danny Mickey, and just because it's a way, I think, of recapturing that sort of initial energy you get from just a pencil drawing that a lot of times gets lost when you ink it. And I'm trying to maintain that. But I'm also trying to do detailed work. Obviously, there's a lot of line work in here, a lot of detail, but it's a looser approach to the detail. And again, trying to capture an energy in the line work rather than just perfection, like laying down the perfect feather line or something like that. So I've got to say the last 2 pages I've done, in terms of spotting blacks, which you can see the black here, creating that volume here under his arm, especially. It creates a thickness and a weight, a three-dimensionality to your characters on a two-dimensional surface. And to me, that's the goal. Some people's goal is stylization, and this is stylized, but I'm trying to capture weight and mass and not as concerned with, Jim Lee type stylization. And it depends on what you like, I guess. But I think it really fits this genre really well. If you're doing barbaric stuff or you're doing cavemen and dinosaurs, this, I think, really suits this. And if I was doing Kit Carter, I probably would not be this bold to be this loose. Obviously, those of you who got the Kit Carter graphic novel, it was very slick. I had Matt Ryan do the inking because he's very slick, and that's what I wanted. I thought that's what it called for. This does not call for that. And so I'm trying to get to a point where I can evolve as an artist, and which is ironic since we're looking at pictures of cavemen talking about evolving, and do something a little different, but still be happy with it. And right now, I'm kind of in that vibe right now. I'm feeling good. I like it. So check out Barbaric Adventures, you guys. If you haven't backed, please consider doing so. You'll find a link in the description of this video, and it'll be pinned to the top of the chat. And it's on my Twitter profile page, and it's on my Instagram profile page, and it's somewhere on Facebook as well. I am everywhere that you want to be. All right. There you go. That's a pretty lengthy sales pitch, but an important one. That's why we have these channels, is to let you folks know what we're doing and how you can get involved, because we can't do it without you. And all that I can do for you is guarantee you the quality of the project you're going to get, and guarantee that you will get it. Unless I drop dead or something before I finish it, which I feel pretty good, so it's probably not going to happen. But if that does happen, forgive me. But otherwise, you will get your product, and and not only will you get it, you will be very happy with it. All right. Now that I've done that, let's get back to the show and look at some more artwork. All right. We're talking about evolving your style, moving forward. Let's go back in time now. I have literally, okay, if I stacked them I probably have from the floor, if I stacked them, I probably have sketchbooks full of stuff, starting from about year 2000. So those of you who, and I brought this up, I think last week, right? This book, Raw Imagination, hardcover, limited edition, 750 signed and numbered copies, sold out. I'm talking about doing a volume 2 of this, and then reprinting this as a paperback, which I'm pretty darn sure. Well, actually, I'll admit I am actually laying pages out right now, so I am going to do that, but it'll be after I finish Primal Zone. Or pardon me, Barbaric Adventures. And when we're shipping that out, then we'll do a short campaign just to try and raise enough money to fund the production of this. And so you keep your eyes open for this. And of course, obviously, I'll be promoting it like crazy. But I remembered it was about 2000, the year 2000, late 90s. I remember seeing pages from Adam Hughes's sketchbooks. Right? I want to talk about inspiration. And they were like really good drawings. And like my sketchbooks at that point had like stick figures in them. And I was like, you know what? I got to level up my sketch game. So it was about 2000 I actually started putting decent work into sketchbooks. And then, of course, it piled up. And eventually I did that, 20 years of sketches. And the sequel, I finally figured it out, because it went from 2000 to 2019. Which, if you count every year, that's 20 years. If you count the year 2000, 2001, 2000, it's 20 years. So basically it's been 7 years since that book came out. What do you do 27 years of sketches? Who does 20? You do 25, you do 30, you do 30, you don't do 27. So what I think I'm going to call it is Raw Imagination 2, 7 more years of sketches. I kind of like that. So I think I'm going to go with that. And that way I can include, I don't have to stop at 2025. I can go all the way through 2026 and get 7 years of stuff in there, right? So anyway, there are this huge stack of sketchbooks, and I went through and took out the best stuff to put in that book. But there's still stuff that's pretty good that did not get in there, because I put some of it in other sketchbooks, like my little pamphlet sketchbooks. I used to do those quite a bit, and a lot of that stuff is reproduced in there. But I'm like, and I was like, I don't want to, I don't want to be like, keep reprinting the same pictures over and over. Then people buy the book, go, I already got this. But then I thought, how many people actually have those pamphlet sketchbooks? Not a ton, right? And plus they're smaller. So I thought I can probably reuse some of that stuff that were in those pamphlets, because there's some good stuff in there. And we're going to take a look right now at, if I can figure out how to change my stinking camera. I don't know what I'm doing. There it is. Okay. So what I went through, and here's one of these sketchbooks, and I wrote 2007 up here, so I knew what year the sketches were from, because I didn't always sign it with it and date it. Okay. So now you guys know I'm a big John Carter of Mars fan, right? So let's just thumb through some of this stuff here. Now this is a really nice piece I did in the sketchbook back in 2007. And you can see how I'm exploring with this kind of bumpy line, holding line. So it's not like super slick. This is where I really started experimenting with line weights and holding lines. Because I used to be very much, Gary Martin was sort of my mentor to inking and really taught me how to ink. And so I was very slick. And Gary is extremely slick. But I wanted to get away from that and get more back into something that felt more organic and more like, again, like a pencil drawing. So even back then in 2007, I was experimenting. But anyway, so this has been in like a pamphlet sketchbook, but it's never been like in a big sketchbook. And I thought, I should do some of this stuff in there, right? That's a little nakedy, but what's funny about this is, if I were to redo this, in fact, I'm tempted to go in and make her hips bigger, because she needs bigger hips for my money anyway. She's pretty broad shoulders, and then get those hips bigger. But that's a really nice face, pencil drawing there. So, and here's some more Mars stuff. Okay. That's a Banff and a white ape. This is a kind of femme fatale thing I did for the title page of one of those sketchbook pamphlet thingies. I did specifically for that sketchbook. This is some sketches for my creature book, but it's not really what we're looking at today. Now here's Tars Tarkus. That's just pencil, right? What else we got in here? Having a little fun there with that. This has been reproduced in one of my pamphlet books, I think. Okay, so now we have some more white ape stuff here, and then another Deja Forest there. A dinosaur piece. Frankenstein. I think, pretty sure this made it in It's my hardcover. If it didn't, this was in a pamphlet. Oh, you know what? This is in Saved from the Trash. So I'm always reluctant to say, well, should I reproduce it again in a new sketchbook? But I know there's people that don't have Saved from the Trash, right, or have never seen it, that might get the, you know, the hardcover sketchbook. So I do want to use some of the better pieces, but I don't want to overuse it. Now, my creature book had these pencil drawings in it. So I had the color. Of course, I'm talking about Fantastical Creatures field guide, and that I did, what was it, 2008, 2009-ish, when that got published. But it had pencil drawings in it. This book is full of these pencil drawings that were used in the book. And then I would write my little notes, you know, my little funny sayings I was going to put in there. So let's see, what else? Is there anything else in here that... It's funny because there's always... Okay. Look at this. First drawing of Garbage Man right there. He's originally titled, the name of the title of the book was going to be Wasteland. And I don't know if that was actually going to be the name of the character of Garbage Man, but I remember submitting this to Dan DiDio, and then they did a check on Wasteland, and apparently there was already a book called Wasteland, so I couldn't do it. And then I came up with Garbage Man, which, you know, actually probably makes better sense and is catchier. But that's my very first drawing of Garbage Man right there. See, and then I was like, he's got the big, you know, kind of cement arm, which I made even bigger, you know, his face, things like that. Let's see what else we got here. I think that made it into the sketchbook. Andrew Loomis said that, you know, draw a face a day. That's a paraphrase, but basically draw a face a day, because once you've mastered facial anatomy, everything else is easy. And he's right. And so I took it to heart and did this for a while, on and off. But I always try and find interesting faces to draw. And here I did this with, of course, Karloff's Frankenstein. Laserbeak says, Aaron, did you do any work on Amazing Spider-Man 365? Yes, I did. I penciled make the origin story, 10-page origin story in that book, very early in my career. So the inking is a little bit to be desired, so you'll forgive me for that. There's my daughter, 6 years old, I think. Let's see what else we got in here. Okay, here's some pieces that I thought about doing, like bigger pieces of, right? So we have Santa sitting here in front of his fireplace reading the Bible. You got some elves back here going to steal his cookies as he's reading the Bible. And I thought this would be a really nice, charming, like kind of painting. And who knows, maybe someday I will get to it and actually do it. But it's one of those things I think I need to be a better painter than I am at the moment, because this would be like kind of a, you know, a fine art type print, and you want it to really look good. You don't want it to look like, you know, you're still learning what you're doing. So anyway, there's a lot of stuff like that in here. There was a picture of the crucifixion where I had like Jesus' mother down here, and probably Mary Magdalene down here. I should have the Apostle John down here as well. But just a concept idea for an oil painting. This actually turned into a print. I'm pretty sure I did this as a print. This Wonder Woman piece right here. But one of the reasons I tried to level up in my sketchbooks starting back in 2000 was I saw the documentary Crumb about Robert Crumb, which is an incredible movie and just talk about a bizarre family. But he traded a bunch of his sketchbooks for a house in France, and I thought, wouldn't that be cool if I had enough cool artwork in sketchbooks that I could trade for something of value like that. So that's why I started doing like nice sketches in here. There's that chick from Wonder Woman. What's her name? Genocide, yeah. The villain. But see, I do some elves, and then I just go in and like, I'd render them up, you know, so they look like I put a little effort into it. Pegasus action there. There we go. That's a nice little troll. This was for a children's book concept. I'm not sure that warrior gorillas with axes is probably the best thing for a children's book, but there's another one there. There's my cartoon version of my daughter as the little warrior girl. How is this? I don't know, is that King David or Saul or somebody? I'm not sure. My son and my daughter in cartoonish form as I was toying around with other ideas. Love this horse. This is one of those drawings that was just like, God, that turned out really well. I mean, it's a goofy cartoon horse, but it turned out really well. I was just kind of like, I wish I could do that more often. What else we got in here? A creature for my children's book. That was the very first drawing I did of this. It's changed since then, but that's kind of the idea. Look at that, Bigfoot. Yeah, baby, right there. Little Bigfoot drawings. So anyway, that's 2007. That's what was going on in my sketchbook. 2007. So I think we're going to see these John Carter pieces reproduced in the second version of Raw Imagination. We shall see, though. We shall see. I've got a lot of material and 64 pages. So we'll see what comes out in the wash. All right. Back to me and my mature Viking face. GJ Materna says, my wife just said your daughter in that drawing looks just like Shelley. Well, is her mother. So I would hope that there is, at least some semblance there. And hope you always want your daughter to look more like your wife than you do to look like you. All right. Well, that was in part to placate James Sequential Treasures, because he gets all pissy if we don't show enough artwork and I talk too much about other stuff. So there we showed a lot of artwork, and probably not done yet, but we are for the moment, because we are going to move on to all right, kind of a slow year for the Oscars. 1943 was. They're right in the middle of the war. In fact, the 1943 Academy Awards, or the Academies for 1943, were actually held in March of 1944. So we're a year and a half away from the close of the war. So the war effort's like full bloom. Now, this was at Mann's Chinese Theater, or Grauman's, excuse me. It's called Mann's now, but it was Grauman's Chinese Theater in 1944 in Hollywood. And of course, the host was Jack Benny. Now, if you remember from the last couple of weeks, Bette Davis was really pushing to open up the Academy Awards to the average person, not just the Hollywood elitists. And because Hollywood was very much involved in trying to get people involved in the war effort and very patriotic, which is a far cry from where they're at now. But back then, that was kind of one of the things they were trying to do. So they finally opened up the Academy Awards. What was I saying? Just read a quote from Bogart I didn't want to forget. And then so they opened up the Academy Awards to bring everybody in. And this is the year that they finally did that. And the Academy Awards became this entertainment event, not just an award ceremony for Hollywood elitists. And that's why we now have like a 4-hour Academy Awards show, because all of us are sitting at home watching. Not me anymore because I don't care, but I used to, and I used to watch it. So anyway, 1943. I don't think it was a strong year for the Academy Awards. However, it did provide us with one of the greatest movies of all time, and that, of course, is Casablanca, which won Best Picture. It made Ingrid Bergman a star, and this is 1943, of course. Made Ingrid Bergman a star, sort of solidified Humphrey Bogart as the sort of melancholy anti-hero that he went on to present in several other films past this point. But he was already a star, but this really sort of solidified that kind of persona for him. And like I said, it elevated Ingrid Bergman to superstardom. And it's interesting because Ingrid Bergman was not nominated for this movie, but she was nominated for Whom the Bell Tolls this year. So very interesting there. Now, Casablanca was a critical success, but it was also a box office bonanza, huge hit. And because of that reason, it was a dark horse to win Best Picture, which seems kind of ridiculous now to think in terms of this. Let me tell you, the competition wasn't great. Casablanca, of course, which won. For Whom the Bell Tolls, which is a good movie with Ingrid Bergman and Gary Cooper. Heaven Can Wait. The Human Comedy, In Which We Serve, Madame Curie, The More the Merrier, The Oxbow Incident. That's a good movie if you haven't seen that. The Song of Bernadette, and then Watch on the Rhine. So there was some war movies in here, and they kind of felt like Casablanca was more of an entertainment vehicle and didn't really have the gravitas. And yet it surprised everybody by winning, but now we look back on it and, it was freaking genius. So Humphrey Bogart was quoted as saying, "Awards are meaningless for actors unless they all play the same part," which has a sense of depth of thought, shall we say? Because that does make sense, because people playing different parts bring different things to different characters. And how do you really measure that against? Well, that's good. I liked it. Best actor this year was not Humphrey Bogart, although he was nominated. Paul Lucas won for Watch on the Rhine. He was in there with Bette Davis. And oddly enough, Bette Davis had been nominated 6 straight years in a row, and this year she was not nominated. So how about that? The Best Actress. Let's get these guys out of here. Best Actress was won by the lovely Jennifer Jones. There she is, for playing the Song of Bernadette, which was a sort of Christian themed film, which wasn't all that unusual in Hollywood back in the day. It is now, but certainly wasn't then. Biblical epics or Christian themed, or films about nuns and priests and things like that, where they were actually good people. Wasn't that uncommon back then. Best supporting actor was Charles Coburn for The More the Merrier. Charles Coburn, of course, you may not recognize the name, but you would recognize his face. And then Katina Paxanu, who I've never heard of, won For Whom the Bell Tolls. That's best supporting actors. I wanted to show this picture. So Gary Cooper and Ingrid Bergman, For Whom the Bell Tolls, which I've seen this as well. And same year, so Ingrid Bergman gets For Whom the Bell Tolls, gets nominated for Best Actress, doesn't win, but gets nominated. Jennifer Jones, of course, won for The Song of Bernadette. But she also gets nominated, or pardon me, she's also in Casablanca, which she doesn't get nominated for, but which is the movie that really made her a superstar. So Power Play by Ingrid Bergman here in 1943 with two huge movies like that. Humphrey Bogart was nominated, Gary Cooper, Paul Lucas, who won for Watch on the Rhine, Walter Pidgeon for Madame Curie, and then, of course, Mickey Rooney for The Human Comedy were your Best Actor nominations. And interesting that Paul Lucas won. But Watch on the Rhine, it was a World War II type film, so they might have been leaning that direction. For Best Actress, Jean Arthur, Ingrid Bergman, Joan Fontaine for The Constant Nymph, Greer Garson as Madame Carey. Remember, Greer Garson won last year for Mrs. Miniver. And then, of course, Jennifer Jones wins this year for The Song of Bernadette. So anyway, and your Best Director was Michael Curtis for Casablanca. So here we have the Best Picture and the Best Director lining up, which we like to see, because that makes total sense to me. Clarence Brown was nominated for The Human Comedy, Henry King for The Song of Bernadette, Ernst Lubitsch, who I happen to like Ernst Lubitsch, for Heaven Can Wait, and George Stevens for The More the Merrier. There isn't even really any good Hollywood Babylon this year, except one thing that I thought was kind of funny. This is the beautiful, the darling Linda Darnell. Now, so here's the unmentionable, if you will. Daryl Zanuck, right, big producer, cast his mistress, Linda Darnell, as the Virgin Mary in Song of Bernadette. Oh, the irony. So there you go. That I thought was pretty funny. He's having an affair with Linda Darnell and casts her as the Virgin Mary. Okay, what do we got here? Height challenged. Humphrey Bogart had to wear platform shoes to play alongside the statuesque Ingrid Bergman. This is with leading men in Hollywood being so short all the time. Movies that could have gotten nominated that did not: Shadow of a Doubt, Old Acquaintance, Hangman Also Die, Cabin in the Sky, The Cat People, a very good movie. I Walked with a Zombie. Not really sure that deserved to be nominated. The Cat People probably didn't deserve to get nominated either, but it's actually a pretty good film. And then they ignored poor Ida Lupino for The Hard Way. She didn't get nominated there. The roles of Bogey and Bergman in Casablanca were originally slated for Ronald Reagan and Hedy Lamarr. How about that? So there you go. Oh, and the Best Supporting Actors and Actresses finally received full-body Oscars this year rather than the miniature Oscars on a plaque. Wow. That's insulting. I didn't even know they were doing that. So this is the first year that the Best Supporting Actor and Actress categories actually got Oscars instead of like little plaques. I won a plaque once, and I'm telling you, it's not as good as the actual trophy. So there you go. And Barbaric, of course, saying that's Hedley Lamarr. Of course, you're referencing Blazing Saddles, because I know my freaking movies. Spaceman says The More the Merrier is a great movie directed by the great George Stevens. Joel McCrea and Claudette Colbert. Charles Coburn's Oscar-winning performance is great. I love people in the chat that watch old movies and know this stuff. I have not seen it, but now, Spaceman, you have inspired me to watch The More the Merrier and drink some more raspberry iced tea. Do you ever notice when you like drink caffeine, or it almost like dry, it gives you cotton mouth? I don't feel like I'm getting like my thirst quenched by drinking caffeine drinks, but I'm hoping to be awake at 11 o'clock when I have to pick my daughter up from the airport. And that's all that matters. Okay, here we go. Has anybody super chatted me yet? Oh, come on, you guys. I'm just kidding. $2 for Stealth says hello. I think I already read that, but I'm going to read it again and make me feel like I got more money. All right, where are we at here on the old, that was Oscars. Oh, let's take a look at, let's take a look at another comic, just for the heck of it. Cha-cha-cha. Okay, what's for sale this week? I found this on eBay. Now, I hate being broke because I love to buy stuff, but especially old comic book stuff. I've been on the prowl, shall we say, on the lookout for a couple of years for a good price on this book. Now, I don't know if this is a good price or not. My Go Collect is being funky, so I'm having a hard time looking. A lot of times it's not. When I look up something, it's saying, oh, we can't find it. So I think there's something wrong with the program at the moment. Maybe they're doing some work on it, and we'll see what it looks like on Monday. So I don't know. I think this is probably more around a $600 book than an $800 book. But what this is X-Men 49, Stranko cover. He did not do the interiors, but it is the first appearance of Polaris. And it also has the origin of the Beast in it. So it is kind of a important issue. Now, if Stranko hadn't done the cover, I wouldn't even care. I do have the next issue, which has the nice green Polaris cover on it. I do have that. And I have the following issue, which both of those are Stranko covers, and I believe interiors as well. But I don't have this one. And, you know, I kind of want all three of the Stranko covers. And it is the first appearance of Polaris. So, you know, there is some collectability involved there. But it also makes it kind of an expensive book. And right now, not really in my my expense account, but I like to keep an eye on these things because you just never know. I want to see what it goes for, how long it stays up. You know, it's not an auction. It's just for sale at $8.50 or best offer. So I'll look these up occasionally. I think this has been floating around for a while because I think the he's too high. I'm pretty sure this is like a $600 book. It's my dog. Yeah, see, this one I have. I don't think anybody bought it for $9.20. I don't think so. Oh, look at that, a 9.4. Whew. Currently bidding at $1,500. I do have this. Probably like, it's not graded. It's probably about an 8.5. So I have a nice copy of this. Cool cover. So that's her first Polaris cover, but her second appearance. Also continued origin of the Beast in there. So I do have this book. And, you know, so I'd like to get the, you know, I'm not a big X-Men collector. I never have been, but some of the, I've got the Neil Adams issues, and I want to get the Stranko issues. And there's a Barry Smith issue that I used to have that I don't have anymore. Ooh, I have this. Now this ticked me off because I bought this non-graded. This is a perfect example of why you guys give me crap for buying graded books, but this is why. So I buy this book probably 20 years ago. I think it was a cross-gen. I bought this book. It wasn't graded, and the guy was selling it as a near mint, and it looked really, really clean. So I bought it, and it showed up, and I thought, this is near mint. But I didn't really take it out of the Mylar. I just kind of looked at the cover. Years later, I took it out, and there was a diagonal crease running almost across the entire back cover of the book. So and then it goes from a near mint to like a VF minus now because of that. And I'm like, Judas Priest. So anyway, the cover looks really good. But anyway, so that's why you know. Now, granted, I should have checked the back cover, which I did not do, but I'm very, and I didn't, I spent less than $200 on it. So it's not like I spent, you know, $1,000 on it or anything, but still. Anyway, this is an important book because I think this predates Avengers 4. So this is like the first actual appearance of Captain America, unless I may be mistaken. Let's see. No, this is after 4. This is after Avengers 4, but it's the first meeting of Nick Fury and Captain America. Yeah, so anyway, that's why, especially on larger ticket items, I will only get graded books because I don't want to get ripped off. It's a very simple equation. And a lot of this stuff I'm buying, I buy a lot of books because I like the cover and I'm not necessarily interested in reading it. Now, if I buy a Man-Thing book, I'm not going to get a graded one because I want to read the story of the Man-Thing. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, there you go. So anyway, that's what's for sale this week. And some more stuff I won't be buying, but you know. Art of Royce says, no comics worth more than $35. That's it. You collectors are nuts. Well, you can make that comment about anything. Nothing's worth anything unless someone's willing to pay money for it, right? So these are all items that are manufactured by human hands, and they're all eventually going to deteriorate and disappear. But yeah, but we are nuts. I won't disagree with you. Evil One Chris. Oh my gosh, it's been a while, dude. For $5. Just got back from my local horror con and hang out with Billy Zane. How about that? I can confirm that Billy Zane is a cool dude. How about that? So the Evil One goes to a local horror con. I've never been to one because I'm kind of scared. But Bill Stout tells me they're good places to make some money if you're a horror artist, which Stout does a lot of that stuff. He does fantasy horror, all that kind of stuff. I've never been to one though because it kind of gives me the jitters. But Evil One Chris is not afraid and got to hang out with Billy Zane, so that is pretty cool. Congratulations there, and thank you for the 5, Evil One. And he also wants to know, is this channel about teasing us with books we can't afford? I'm teasing myself with books I can't afford too, so that it kind of we're all in this boat together. All righty. Well, moving right along. Let's see what we got here. Oh, someone made a derogatory comment, and if I could remember who it was, I would blast him with a cannonball right now, but I can't remember who it was. So anyway, we're going to do this anyway. All right. So I've kind of changed up the cover thing a little bit because we've gone through a lot of cover artists. And I'm getting a little fatigued by it. I mean, there's artists that I like. I mean, you can keep going forever, and say, oh, that guy's worthy of, we've been doing this we've probably done 2 years worth of, we started with the Golden Age, worked our way through Kirby and Buscema and Starlin and Simonson and Neil Adams and Gil Kane. I think we did 2 weeks on Gil Kane and Neil Adams both, and Wrightson, and just, we went through everybody. So I'm kind of mixing it up. I like looking at covers, but I wanted to kind of mix up the, my dog is freaking crazy. I want to mix up a little bit. So we're going to do what I think, and this is an educated opinion, okay? An educated opinion about what I think are the top 10 House of Mystery covers. Because I was actually I was going to do Wrightson frontispieces, which is a little repetitive, because if you remember, we did 100 days of Wrightson, and then we did 100 days of Frazetta, and I haven't gone back to that format. But so we probably covered all that Wrightson stuff at some point. But I was looking at it going, oh, these are so cool, because I hadn't really looked at them in a long time. But then I thought, no, you know where I can get some Wrightson in, but maybe also some other people, would be House of Mystery. So here we go. Now these aren't exactly, they're not in order because I'm too lazy to actually do that. The fact that I looked up all these is about all you're getting out of me. So these aren't in any order, but these would be in my top 10. 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, these are my top 10. And I did go through all the covers. So there's nothing too old. You know, there's not like a Martian Manhunter cover in here. But here we go. What I think, top 10 covers. And I left out a couple of Wrightsons that could have been in there too. But anyway, here we go. If you're a House of Mystery fan, how is this not on your list? Henry Jeremick is calling out his numbers already, 204 and 236. Are they on here? We'll find out. This is 208. Now, this is not Wrightson. This is probably Nick Carty, right? I bet Marcus would know. Oh, hang on a second here. GJ Martinez, 20 jewels and a party hat. Thank you very much, GJ. Appreciate that very much. Yeah, so again, if Marcus is around, you can verify that, but I think that's Nick Carty. But that is an awesome cover. I mean, normally I'm an art-driven buyer, unless I'm buying one of my regular books like, you know, Spider-Man or Captain America or Avenger, whatever I read or whatever you read. But otherwise, I won't buy a book unless the art grabs me. And this is not Wrightson. This is not Neil Adams, not one of my regular go-tos. Marcus Killerman must have been asleep. Yes. Is this Nick Carty? Is this cover Nick Carty? House of Mystery 208? I think it is, but I was looking for, there you go. Thank you. There you go. So it is Nick Carty, who's an excellent cover artist, by the way. And this is an excellent cover. And what more do we need to say about it other than it's excellent? Okay, now this, this one, I don't have this either. I probably should. It's not worth anything, but oh my goodness. Hello. Joe Kubert comes in with the, oh my gosh. This cover is horrifying. You've got this little girl and then this clown with a knife. We got to hope. Now, see, he's not looking at the girl. So we're hoping he's not going to stab her because that would just be horrific. That maybe he's going after her dad. Maybe feel a little better about that. But Joe Kubert does great cover work. Now, my problem with Joe is for a very long time, my problem was his inking was really loose, looser than I'm comfortable with, even though I'm attempting to do more loose inking, but not this loose. But Joe's sense of design and dramatic impact are so good. And I call him Joe like I know him. I never met him, but this is like, whoa. You see this on the newsstand and you go, yeah, I've got to probably have to buy this. Now, this is 50 cents. So we're in the 80s at this point, and I'm in college and not buying this. And that's why I don't own it. But I should go back and get it because I bet I could get this like in near mint condition for like $5. But dare I say this cover is killer. All right. Okay. I'll get a little Wrightson in here. Arguably, Bernie's greatest cover of his run of horror comics. This is freaking unbelievably good. Now, think back to, this was probably 20 Cent Days. This would have been 72, probably, 1972. What do you think Wrightson got paid for this cover? $150, 200 maybe, probably not even that much. And look how much work he put into this. So in 1972, he was a young lad of 24 years old, I think. Yeah, he would have been 24. He was born in 48. So he'd have been 24 years old. Can you imagine doing that at 24? I can't even imagine doing that at 64. He brings us into the office, right? And you know everybody's pissed off. Not the editorial, but all the other artists are like, shoot, Christ, who's this kid? Making us look bad. But the amount of work you put into something like this for what the paycheck had to bet on it. And he probably sold the original for, you know, a few $100 too. But I know $150 back in 1972 or whatever they were getting paid for the cover rate. And I have no idea. He didn't get paid enough for this cover. Just the amount of work on it. And just what a great concept. He did get the art back. Those guys were pretty smart back then. You know, those artists, those what do you want to call them, Renaissance guys in the early 70s, you know, Barry Smith, Kaluta, they were pretty good about that. They weren't like the standard superhero guys that were just cranking stuff out and the pages just piled up in the office and the guys didn't care if they got it back. These guys were bleeding on this stuff, and I guarantee you they got it back. And this sold at auction, oh boy, it was at San Diego, and they had the original. I got to see the original. It was at a very little small auction booth, and this was, might have been as much as 15 years ago or more. And I don't even think they were using the entire, it might have been 20 years ago or more. I don't think they were using the entire convention center. And I was walking around and they had this, and it was live auction, and they had it on like an easel, like sitting in the middle of this booth. You could just walk up and look at it. I think it went for 10 grand on Heritage. I think it was Heritage. I think it went for $10,000. This right now would probably be 200 grand, 150, $200,000 probably. Oh boy. So Jiminy says in 1972, if you got 150 for this, it would be $1,200. So, okay. Bob bet he didn't even get that much. I'm curious. I'd like to find out. There's probably somebody out there who knows what these guys were getting for cover rate back in like 72. But anyway, that's a freaking awesome cover. And I do own that book. Here we go. Who said 204 was their favorite? Was it Henry Jeremick? Because I've got to say, I'm digging it too. Look at this blobby thing. Now, this is actually a story in the book. So Wrightson actually did a story in here too. He occasionally did stories. He'd do the covers. And he did a lot of like intro page. They weren't inside front covers, but they were title page artwork, you know, of Kane. And a lot of that stuff was really, really good. But then he wouldn't do a story. He actually did this story. And I actually do have a copy of this too. High grade. I'm probably not graded, but probably a 9.0. This is like, you know, my painting teacher back in the day, he used to talk about Leyendecker and Rockwell. And he'd say, why do we, he said, you know, in terms of a lot of other guys that work for the Saturday Evening Post, he said Leyendecker and Rockwell did very little work compared to these other guys. But he goes, whose covers do you remember? And Leyendecker and Rockwell. Why? Because they were far superior to what everybody else was doing. Because they would take a month to do theirs. Well, another guy maybe did 2 or 3 covers, you know, painted one a week or painted one in 3 or 4 days. And it's like Wrightson's covers, for the most part, he's not, you know, a genius all the time, but these were the ones that you looked and said, holy crap, what is this? And you had to pick it up. And this is just freaking awesome, man. It's awesome. And it's a great design too, right? You got the Dutch angle, makes it a little bit more interesting. You got the girl in the background, right? Stepping forward. Like you would think she'd be leaning back, but it's like she opened the door like, what? And, you know, then you got this mass, this blob mass with the eyes and everything. It's just, it's pretty cool. You know, good use of black, because you're always going to get good black placement with Wrightson, obviously. This is just a great piece. And this was like I was talking about with my caveman stuff earlier. This is a rough pencil, and then he goes in and he does most of his work with the inks. That's confidence. Great piece. All right, back to Bernie. Is this our third Bernie already? Well, what are you going to do? Hi. Come on now. There are certain covers, and it even Wrightson, okay? House of Mystery used to be a bargain basement buy. You could go to a comic convention and they would have boxes of these things for 25 cents, 50 cents. Now they're worth hundreds. And even the Wrightson covers, they're not all worth the same. You can get some of them for, like, you get a near mint one for $200, which is still a lot of money, but this one is like in that $300 to $500 range. That tells you that this is a pretty good piece. That Tree Monster is just freaking awesome. So, and I do have this one. So I got it on the cheap before they got too expensive. This is 1973. This is prime Wrightson, baby. A year after Swamp Thing. This is when he really is rolling. 72 to 1980, that 8-year period, the guy is freaking amazing. And there we are. So I love this big tree in the foreground. Again, you look at this cover and you're just going, okay, I'm buying this. What else is there to say? Come on. Now, this one, I kind of went back and forth on this, but I think it's significant. I like it. This is Kaluta. This is the last issue, right? This is the end of the House of Mystery. I just love the idea. I love his rendition of Kane here. Now, it's not dynamic or anything. It's just him, but him with his luggage kind of moving out, the windows boarded up, very illustrative, as was Kaluta's way. I thought this was an effective cover. I don't own this one either. Why don't I own this? And cue the dog. So you could say, oh, there's scarier covers and there's whatever. But I just think for what this is, the last issue, nice Kaluta drawing, very simple and yet at the same time clever, I think. Funny, sad, creepy, all the things you want it to be. I just think it works. I just think it works really, really well for what it was intended for, and that is why it's on my top 10 list. This is probably Kaluta's best cover right here. The thing with Kaluta very rarely did Kaluta do great covers. And I say that because he would always like illustrate a scene or something, and he had a very sort of squiggly line and sometimes it wasn't really clear what was going on, and he didn't really focus on huge elements that I like. I should say, in my opinion, because other people, of course, and I'm not saying I don't like his stuff. I'm just saying that I don't think he had a lot of effective covers because he wasn't that type of artist. This, however, is probably his best cover ever of anything. I mean, this is awesome. you've got this huge singular element, this, you know, the Grim Reaper here. Look at the corn on the cob is skull heads. The face is creepier than crap. The wind blowing his garment. This is just an awesome cover. And embarrassingly enough, I don't own this one either. What the heck is wrong with me? I'm gonna go on eBay and find all these because I know they're not that expensive. But what a Henry Jeremick says Mike Kaluta's shadow was cool. It was, but Wrightson's shadow was cooler. But Wrightson couldn't do it. He was supposed to do it, but couldn't do it because he was working on Swamp Thing and he could barely get Swamp Thing done. But that's, come on. That is just a fantastic cover. Incredible. Again, I would definitely buy that. Now this is, I can't tell you, I can't give you a really good reason why I like this cover so much. I just do, and so therefore it's on the list. This is Neil Adams. This is issue 179. Now this is the first, this has Wrightson's first professional work in it. And I do own a copy of this. And this is actually kind of an expensive book. In near mint, it's probably $400 or $500. I have a BF Plus copy of it. Really sharp BF Plus though. I don't know what, you got a bunch of kids. I like the storytelling. I just like this old pruny witch up here, that flowing white hair, the composition. I can't really explain it because basically your focus is a bunch of kids. Excuse me a second. The dog is going to be the death of me if I'm not the death of him. All right. But this is a cover, you know, it's monochromatic. There's just some really interesting things going on here. And I just always liked this cover. And some people would argue there's better Neil Adams covers than this. And I wouldn't necessarily argue with that, but this is my favorite. So that's why it's on this list, because it's my list. All right, what I'm going to show you next are the final two are probably the two best House of Mystery covers, in my opinion, my educated opinion. We'll start with Wrightson. Now this one has also become an obsession of mine. This book is the single most expensive Wrightson House of Mystery cover you can get. In near mint, people are selling this for $600-700. It really should be in that $400 range, but I can't find anybody selling it for that cheap. So I have a VG copy on my rack over here. I will prove it just for the sake of whatever. I got a beat up copy of this. It's probably worse than BG. It is worse than BG, but see, I do actually have a copy of it, but I want a near mint copy because Art of Roy is laughing at me going, "You fool." There's no story in here that matches this cover, which is kind of a little bit depressing because that looks like a really cool story. Anyway, so I really want a near mint copy of this book. I can't find one for an affordable price, but look at that big old skeleton head zombie thing coming out of the lake. This is a freaking awesome cover. And again, to justify my pick, this is the single most expensive Wrightson House of Mystery cover you can get. So everybody else must think it's great too. Yes, there is a Ditko story, a lead story in this. Henry Jeremick says, that's my second favorite Ultimate Wrightson cover. Okay, well, you're in the ballpark then. This was in the, remember when Marvel was doing their box art? Oh yeah, this is the one that Henry Jeremick. It was 204 and 236, right? These are your two faves. So you have good taste. Again, Wrightson was just, people were just going, oh my Lord. At this point, they were probably like, okay, Bernie, just draw me something. I don't care what it is and bring it in. And they were like, okay. This is prime Wrightson. This is probably 1975, 25 center, maybe 74. Prime Wrightson. Again, probably asking, why do I like Wrightson so much? Look at the volume he creates here with the black in this guy's cape, right? Now you can say, oh, his faces are cartoony. I don't really like him or whatever. But look at the volume, right? Look at and then he breaks it up here. Instead of going, this is kind of what I'm trying to do in my inking. Look at all those broken areas in that solid black, right? So this is all pen work in here. All of this is pen. You can see how scratchy it is on his chin. And this isn't brush. This looks like it could be brush back here, or at least some of it. But this is all pen. Very interesting. His holding line's probably brush, but this interior stuff is pen. That's the only way you can get that kind of sketchy line stuff he's doing there, like right here. I love that. And so I'm trying to kind of bring, because if this was inked super slick, it wouldn't have as much energy. It wouldn't have as much impact, I don't think. But his ability to create volume, come up with really interesting concepts and designs, and his use of detail. He doesn't always go nuts, but when he does, it's like really effective. I'm a Wrightson honk. What can I say? As long as it's 1972 to 1980, I'm a Wrightson honk. Now, so I kind of went back and forth with that cover and this one as the all-time best. We return to our good friend Nick Cardy. Now, I will also justify this pick by saying this cover is very expensive too. Like all the other House of Mysteries that aren't Wrightson and Neil Adams covers are very affordable. This one is not. It's a couple $100 if you can find a near mint copy of this, which I have not found yet. But like in that $300 range and stuff. And again, Nick Cardy is a very good cover artist, but he's not someone that collectors go after necessarily, like Wrightson or Neil Adams or some of these other guys. So the fact that this cover is elevated in price like it is, once again, sort of vindicates me and shows that a lot of people think this is a freaking awesome cover. And it is a freaking awesome cover. Evil One, hot take, Ghastly Graham Ingalls is greater than Bernie Wrightson. Wrightson owes a lot to Graham Ingalls, right? So can the student be better than the master? But Wrightson had a more refined approach to Graham Ingalls. And obviously he had Frazetta influence, other things that worked in his thing, in his style. But he's very influenced by him, Wrightson is, by Graham Ingalls. And I love Graham Ingalls, but I'm more of a Wrightson fan than I'm a Graham Ingalls fan. So you can take that for. Anyway, I don't know what to say about this, but yeah, this is another cover I'm buying and I still don't own. It's like, how many of the top 10 I don't own is embarrassing, but they're all expensive. And as big of a collector as I am, I'm kind of a cheapskate too. And so it's like, I'm always looking for a deal and I will not buy unless I get a deal. So we'll see. I keep looking for this. Eventually one will fall into my hands. If you're patient, you'll find what you're looking for at the price that you can afford. But anyway, there you go. There are I take it back. That is not. This is Jack Starling did this. It's right there on the cover How stupid of me. That even says more, I think. That is just a freaking awesome cover. Kudos to you, Jack Starling. Kudos to you. That's 1972, it looks like. All right, Marcus Killiger would have embarrassed me had he been paying attention. Jack Starling. Wow. That's a great cover. I think you want to go through life with more than one great cover under your belt. I don't know if I have one great cover, though. We're going to go through my covers someday soon. And I've done I think I've done like 250 covers in my career, which seems like a lot. That's amazing. I didn't think I'd done that many, but I have. And you'd hope that one of them goes down in history and say, oh, yeah, that's that iconic cover by Lopresti. I don't know that I've done that or not. I've done some ones I really like, but what are you going to do? All righty. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we are, almost 5 o'clock, almost 2 hours into the show. And it's time. I'm happy to say that I do have some decent videos today to show you. Because last week it was kind of lame. But this week, well, you'll see. Let's see if we can find the truth out about Bigfoot this week. Evil One, this is nice. Oh, wait a minute. Reese's Comics has a 7.5 for $175. That's what I'm talking about. That's almost a $200 for a 7.5. And it's like a $400 book in 9.2. Make a cover gallery book to compile your work. I would if I could get the rights to all my covers to reproduce, which I don't know. I don't know if Marvel and DC would do that. DC might let me do it. I don't know that Marvel would. Hyperluxia says Zorro 2 in stores this Wednesday. Got to be your best. I will say this. I am actually really pleased with the Zorro covers I did for that 4-issue miniseries. So, yeah. All right. Now, this one I call Bigfoot bad acting. Now, it's not Bigfoot that's doing the bad acting. It's actually the commentator. Let's watch this. You can see his eye right there. So we have a close-up of Bigfoot looking at the guy on the camera. Let's just see what happens here. Now, I've got to say, it looks pretty real. I don't think it's real, but it looks pretty real. Okay, so here's the guy right there, right? So first of all, do you have balls enough to get that close to Bigfoot if you actually saw Bigfoot? And then the guy says in the video, oh my gosh, it's Bigfoot. And it's like, the delivery is so bad, I don't believe it for a second. Because if I saw that, I would be like hyperventilating and I would not be going, oh my gosh, it's Bigfoot. You know what I mean? That's terrible. So I'm calling foul because the guy filming this, his performance is so freaking bad. And okay, so wait a minute. Let's see if. Oh my gosh, it's Bigfoot. Really? Thank you for enlightening me. But this does look good. So this has to be AI, right? But it looks real. It doesn't look like AI. And it's kind of in focus, which is also, but it couldn't be a guy in a costume. That's like way too much money. to spend on a costume, right? Because that's a pretty decent looking face. So what do we think, you guys? What are we looking at here? Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Evil One said AI made a gorilla look like Bigfoot. It's a cane corso. Is that a dog? Yeah, the video cuts are the problem, right? Video cuts just at what would be the end of an AI clip. Why wouldn't you film Bigfoot the whole time it walks away? I agree. That, of course, is the telltale sign, right? So you've got your camera on Bigfoot, right? There's that edit right there that doesn't make any sense. It cut right there. He's walking away. He's about to come out into the clearing, right? Right here. He's about to walk out in the clearing, and it ends. That's the biggest problem with most of these videos, is that 6 to 8 seconds of AI you get. That's the dead giveaway. No matter how good AI gets, until these people are willing to spend the money and get the program so they can do like super long videos, that's the telltale sign, isn't it? I almost forgot about that. This clips out. It clips out when it zooms in, right? Is it right there? Or zoom right there? There was a clip right there, right? And then it stops right before it goes out. But that face looks good. I mean, it really does. How long before we're not going to be able to tell anymore? We're just going to have to assume that everything is AI, because I'm that cynical. I would assume everything is AI. Evil One says that it ends because he rips his arms off. Now that I would like to see. Of course, and then if it was really ripped his arms off, maybe I wouldn't like to see it. The Nerd Alert says I think it's a dog man, not AI. Those eyes, look at the build of the creature too. So I'm not sure if the Nerd Alert is messing with me or if he's actually a true believer, but it sounds kind of like it's a true believer in the old dog man there. Jerry Rasco says, of course, you'll be a lot safer assuming everything is AI. I certainly do. Okay, here is the Spanish Bigfoot. Now they have a name for it. I can't remember what it's called, but who cares? This allegedly taken in Spain. Now, at first glance, I was kind of like, these guys are walking their Chihuahua, and I thought if anything appeared, there he is right there. If anything appeared, the Chihuahua would go nuts. Well, it is. The dog is barking at something. So here we are in slow mo. So look at the dog. A Chihuahua will bark at the wind. They're worse than my Schnauzer. Now, the problem with this is this a dwarf Bigfoot? Look how short his legs are and how big his head is. No offense to any dwarfs that might be watching, but they do have something out there to get the dog barking. So what do we assume here? What's the trick? They have his buddy over there walking out there, so the dog will bark, and then they just like did a really crappy video edit over the top of it with some blurry dark shadow thing. Because artistically, this ain't working for me. That is not even a remotely believable body. No, I like that. That's definitely AI, but I like that a lot. That's a good design there. It's more like a Rastafarian Bigfoot right there. I kind of like that. If he was smoking, if he had like monster weed hanging out, a bit like just a massive joint hanging out of his mouth right there, I think we'd be onto something. Let's take a look at this again. So you see what I'm saying? I think, yeah, Art of Roy, that's a good call too. They do this a lot. They will add the film artifacts in there to make it look, because this isn't 16 millimeter. Where are those film artifacts coming in? Somebody added that to make it look like a Super 8 film, but no one's taken a Super 8 film since the 80s, let's be honest. Sideshow monkey. Once again, why would you take the camera off Bigfoot? Why would you be looking at the dog? Who cares what the dog is doing? But you're like proving to the audience, right, that, hey, my dog is barking at something. You would never take the camera off Bigfoot. And like, again, that's like a mutant Bigfoot, or it could be a pygmy Bigfoot. Now that might be something. We could actually be creating something, right? Our own cryptid, the pygmy Bigfoot. Now, of course, I made famous, not really, but created the little Bigfoot in my Creatures Field Guide, Fantastical Creatures Field Guide. Thank you. Don't even know the name of my own book. Little Bigfoot. And Little Bigfoot was little because he smoked and it stunted his growth. So there, you know, this ground has been toiled before. All righty. What do we got here? I do like this Rastafarian. Oh, there it is. There's the Spanish name. Illusion or Illusion? Something like that. So like that's the Spanish Bigfoot. So apparently there's Bigfoot everywhere, right? And they're all over the world, and yet we can't find a single one. It's amazing. What are you gonna do? Well, that's not all I have for you. There's more. 2 is not enough. This is the Connecticut Bigfoot. And those of you wondering, and we often do, what's Kelsey up to? This video might reveal exactly what Kelsey's up to. Let's take a look. As these people in Connecticut are filming out their window at, I feel like, have we seen this one before? I can't remember if we had or not. Look at this guy. He's swinging the arms around. Oh, he almost fell over. He tripped on something. And then we lost him. So there we go. He's bent over. Is he like catching his breath, or is he picking a berry or something? I don't know. And then he's walking along. Let him swing them arms. This to me looks like a really bad costume. I don't think it's AI, because I think this is like an older video, but this is like a really, really bad costume. And look at how he's walking. There's just, again, this, this irritates me, you guys. No performance. Where is the art? Where is it? I'm going to make a Bigfoot video, but I don't care about my performance? Come on, man. Digital 0.01 says he's obviously breaking wind. Maybe that's what he's doing. Oh my gosh. The Nerd Alert saying this is really fake. You can see the human head in the neck. Yeah, you can tell the costume's head's on top of a person. Yeah, this is, I mean, at least we know it's not AI, because it's so freaking bad that it has to be a guy in a costume. And the way he's walking, too, look at he's swinging those arms around. So obviously the forearms in the costume are way longer than his. They're just flopping around. God, this is a bad effort. And yet, this stuff is all over like the internet and, cryptid videos, and they're like, oh, look at this. Oh, that's Bigfoot. But you're just like, come on, man. We've had probably in the, I don't know, how many years have we been doing this? 2 years, maybe, or more, 3 years. We've had maybe 10 pretty good videos. Gee, many Christmas. You just, man, you got to put more effort into it than this. You've got to. And that's the Connecticut Bigfoot. So it may be a different breed of Bigfoot. It may just be the dumber, clumsier, hillbilly type Bigfoot. Okay. Now, this one, I kind of like this one, even though I know what you're going to say, and I know what I'm going to say too, but I will let you be the judge. But I think we'll talk about it. This is in Ohio. Guy driving by in a car catches this, allegedly. Here we go. Look at right. Whoa, look at that. Okay, but see, what I like about this video is, now watch. Where is it? Right here, okay? So they're driving up, right? And so you get just a glimpse of the Bigfoot right here around the tree. Now this is a nice touch, okay? It makes it feel more believable. And then you drive by and like, whoa, and I spooked him and he took off running. See, there's like there's a narrative here. There's a story going on here that I think kind of works. Now, obviously this has got to be AI, right? But look at him book, man. Look at him go. See, he runs too much like this. He actually looks like an athletic Bigfoot here. So I'm not getting that sense that this is an animal, but this right here is a really nice touch, I think. To have him like creeping out behind the tree right there. And then you get this is almost cinematic, right? So the car then sweeps in front of the image and then he takes off running as the car goes by. And I like the character design, the image that's created here. Like I said, I'm going to assume this is AI. I don't know what other programs are out there to create this stuff. But why this works for me is, so what you do is you put yourself in a moving car, right? So now you're limiting how much you're going to be able to see anyway, because the car is driving past, right? And by the time you stop, he's gone, right? But so I think it works story-wise, it works cinematically. Let's get back to this again here. Okay, so now you're driving off, and it makes sense that you cut away because you're just going to drive past him anyway and not be able to see him. Whereas if you're standing there filming him and then you just stop filming for no apparent reason, it doesn't make any sense. But here it actually does. So you've got the setup. He takes off running as you go by. He's heading up the hill, but you're driving away. And so, you cut away. So that makes sense. So I think these people put a little bit of effort into this. Art of Roy says, and Art of Roy is being very technical. He says the color cut is when the prepared video is cut in. They use the tree as a stitch point. See? But you're kind of making my point, and they put some effort into this, I think. Now, you got to work on again, it looks just like a dude running, which, who knows what a Bigfoot would actually look like running, but probably not look like, as someone said in the chat, Jesse Owens. But let's take one more look at this. Because I do like it. Like I said, I think there's some effort put into this. I love that right here where we're coming in and he's right around the tree. Oh, did I miss it? Yeah, right here. Right. He's kind of like, if you look, he's not just standing there either. He's sort of just moping along, looking down, and then gets spooked by the car and takes off running. A for effort on this one. But the funny thing is, people want to pass this off as real. What would you do if this was you? You would stop the car, you'd get out, you'd take pictures, if nothing else, of the footprints. You would, I'd be yelling, "Stop the car! Are you kidding me? Stop, stop, stop!" They stop the car. I'd catch them running up the hill, and maybe yell at him, try to entice him down, because you got car insurance, right? Stay in your car like you would if it was a bear, and see if you can get him to attack the car so you get more footage. And then you make a fortune because it would be real. Of course, this is not real, so you're not going to make a fortune. But you are getting people like me to sit here and play the videos. So you have achieved something, I guess. GG Martinez agrees with me. There is some effort put into this clip, some thought. They're saying Hulk Hogan runs like that. So could they have taken a picture of Hulk or a clip of Hulk Hogan running and then like superimposed, like had AI like turn it into Bigfoot and then have him running up the hill or something? I don't know. See, that's just like, that seems like there's a lot of effort put in this. And I appreciate the fact that they put effort into this. If they're going to make me watch this, then me make you guys watch it, put some effort into it. I mean, is that too much to ask? I don't think it is. Pitty Maw says, hey, so late. You are so late because the show is almost over, Pitty Maw. Oh my gosh, and it was a good one. We had art, we had film, we had Bigfoot, pretty much like every other show. And I drank tea. My mouth is dry. I'm drinking liquid. And what was that in Star Trek? Remember the Tribbles? They were in a compartment full of grain and they starved to death. So here I am drinking and I'm parched. It's very strange. Now, GJ says, now GJ is in Texas and there are Texas Bigfoot, although they're more prominent, I think, in Oklahoma than Texas. But he says, I'm not sure how true this is, but I've heard if you're close to an actual Bigfoot, they will start to throw stones at you as a warning sign. That would be very considerate of them. We have looked at videos where Bigfoot threw stones at somebody. So Captain Bitpo says tea is too salty. It's caffeine too, though, isn't it? Look at Marcus Killigrew taking. You know what? You're taking a shot at me when you say that. I fell asleep. Like, this show is boring. This high quality free television show you're watching is boring. Judas Priest. Marta Bruce is up there calling poo now is stones. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, I know when to take a hit. If that's how Marcus is going to be. Wasn't even around for the top 10 House of Mystery covers. Had no idea what I was talking about. I woke him up when I said, hey, Marcus, is this a Nick Cardy cover? I woke him up from his nap to help out with the show. Wow. I don't even know what else to say. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. Thank you guys for joining me, and those of you who stayed awake, I really appreciate that. Join us for Graybeards on Wednesday, where I'm going to show like some really interesting art that I wanted to show on this show, but I thought, no, I'm going to save it for show and tell on Graybeards because I have been very busy. I have been working like crazy, and although I can't show you too much of Primal Zone because I, don't want to ruin the story. There's been some side stuff I've been working on, and I literally have a stack over there, and I will reveal it on Wednesday. So you want to tune in for that. But I want to thank everybody for the super chats. Thank you guys for joining in the chat, making it interesting and fun as you always do. Couldn't do the show without you, so I appreciate your attendance. Even if it's like Pitty Maw that you're really late, or like Marcus Killigrew who can't stay awake during the show, I still do appreciate the fact that you're here. So anyway, enjoy the rest of your weekend and your evening, and I will see you guys right here next week on Comics, Cryptids, and Cannonballs. Good night.